Hi, I'm Pci, and this is the unboxing of the X8DAH Plus-F motherboard from SuperMicro. This is a server motherboard, however it's not exclusively just for servers. For example, I'm using this in a high-end workstation, which is an applicable use of it. It is an EATX motherboard and has a lot of features. Its main feature is the fact it supports two LGA1366 CPUs. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what's inside the box and then look at some of the features of the motherboard. First things first, get everything open and have a look what we're provided with. Okay, so in the top of the box there's a checklist. It appears that each motherboard is packed by hand and checked off. However, they haven't actually checked anything on this checklist. I'm going to take their word for it that everything's here. Obviously I'll double check as I'm pulling it all out. Alright, so we've got our SATA cables, which is a nice inclusion. However, for my purposes, I will probably have to buy some more SATA cables since these are red. They're actually quite orangey, to be honest. And in my PC, I'm going to need black for looks purposes. But it's nice that they've provided you with the SATA cables. It actually comes with 6 SATA cables, which is the same number of SATA connections that are on the main motherboard. So that's always a plus. Then you've got your floppy connection here and your EIDE cable here with, is that 1 or 2 connections? Right, have your back plate, which goes in the back of your case, which basically adapts the sockets on the back so that for your motherboard's capabilities. Box standard, expect it with pretty much every single motherboard. Have a CD here with some software on it. I'm not sure exactly what software's on there, but I'll look into that and let you know. And obviously we've got our instruction manual, which is hole punched. Not quite sure why. It's got all the setup and technical information you should need to know, so just pop that to the side. Okay, now under here we should have the main motherboard, so just take this out. Okay, and here it is in an electrostatic discharge bag. Okay, let's carefully take it out. It's extremely large, however you would expect that from the dual CPU setup that it's got. Just move the box out of the way. We can have a look at it here. Now, be very careful with this, since it is a very expensive motherboard. Don't want to damage it. Let's see how to open this. Okay, we flip it over. Got a seal down here. Right, very carefully slide it out. We'll just pop it on the electrostatic discharge bag to keep it safe whilst we're having a look at some of the features of this. Okay, so the first thing you should notice is the dual LGA1366 CPU sockets, which are used for any LGA1366 CPUs. However, if you want to utilise the fact it's got 2 of them, you'll need one of the Xeon 5500s or 5600s, which have a dual QPI link. You also have 18 RAM slots here, which takes Ddr3 RAM. We'll take a closer look at that afterwards. That's 9 slots per CPU, each with 3 channels. You should also notice that we've got 2 IOH 36Ds here, which is basically what controls the communication from the processors and all the parts of the computer to the PCI slots, the SATA connections. It just basically connects everything together. And the advantage of having 2 is the limit of 1 is it's limited to how many PCI channels it can have. Using 2, it allows you to have more PCI Express slots, which gives you a lot more expandability on the board. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the connections and features of this board section by section. If we start down in this corner here, you'll notice we have the standard 24-pin ATX power connection, as well as 2 8-pin CPU connections, which is for the EPS 12-volt power connection. If you're planning to buy this motherboard, make sure you have a compatible processor. You will need both of these connected to use both processors. Also down in this corner we have 2 fan connections here, which you can run one to your CPU, and you also have your connections here for the hard drive access LEDs, the power button, and all the things that you generally have on the front of the case. All those connections are over here in that corner. We also have another fan connection here, and your audio connection for CD drives, or for example if you have a TV card, they sometimes use that connection. Okay, over in this corner we have our 9 Ddr3 slots, which supports up to Ddr1 333 speeds, and that does vary, however, on which CPUs you are installing into the system, and also the configuration of your RAM. You can only reach that maximum speed if you're using one of the 5600 series Xeon processors, and you're using 2 of the 3 slots per channel. You cannot use all 3 slots per channel at those speeds. So if you want to utilise the full speed of the RAM, you have to use 2 slots. However, you're given the option of expanding over that to give you more space, which will lower the clock speed of the RAM, however will give you more RAM space if that's what you would prefer over RAM speed. You also have your 2 fan connections. Now if we look at the input and output connections on the back, you'll notice there are your standard PS2 connections for mouse and keyboard. You also have your VGA connection, and this is a built-in graphics, so if you don't have a separate graphics card then you can use that straight away. I will be getting a graphics card for this, but obviously to get me going, that was one feature that I specifically needed. You also have a serial port. Now this is not something you see on most modern motherboards, it's not something people use very often, however you have that capability. You also have 6 USB sockets over here, and your dual gigabit LAN. This one up here isn't actually gigabit LAN, it's designed for LAN management, which allows you to use IPMI to manage basically everything on your motherboard. You also have your 7.1 surround sound over here with your outputs to go to your surround sound system. However, it is analog, there is no digital SBDIF or optical connections there. The main thing in this corner of the motherboard is the PCI Express slots. You have 7 PCI Express slots, 2 of which have an X16 bandwidth, 4 have an X8 bandwidth, and 1 has an X4 bandwidth, all of which will be very useful for expandability. It is in this last corner here that you get all the things you need to actually start hooking up your hard drive, CD drives, and other equipment that's inside your case. You have your 6 SATA connections over here, which are SATA 2, which is 3 gigabits per second. You also have your EIDE and your floppy connection down here, as well as the BIOS battery, the alarm here, and you also have a nice feature which is a onboard USB socket, which means if you have any internal devices that use USB, you can just plug them in on the inside. There's no need to run it through the outside of the cable coming back in, or to connect an adapter to the USB jumpers, which I forgot to mention how there's also a FireWire jumper, which means if you've got USB and FireWire connections on your case, you can hook them up straight into the motherboard without any issues. Okay, so that concludes this quick look into the SuperMicro X8DAH ±F. I hope you've enjoyed, and if you like this video, please press the like button. You can also look at my other videos where you should be able to see me installing this motherboard into my computer, as well as reviews and hardware tours of other products. Thanks for watching.